maybe you could just kind of unpack, what's the relationship between how we relate to people and how we relate to God?
Yeah. So God is an authority figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these early relationships we have with attachment figures that I talked about that form, kind of these implicit gut level models, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
or filters for what to expect, those transfer to our relationship with God because they operate outside of our conscious awareness. They operate at this sort of gut emotional level.
Mm.
So even though we know certain things in our head about God from Scripture, we don't always know them in this gut level relational knowledge
Mm-hmm.
or in our hearts. And so these attachment experiences, like I said, tend to play out in our relationship with God. And there's a lot of research actually on that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's something I've seen with clients, quite a bit, as well as in my own life. We just tend to
Uh-huh.
have these experiences with God, which makes sense because one way I put it is we bring all of our humanness to our relationship with God. So
Yeah.
even though God is perfect and God doesn't in reality let us down, but we have experiences that filter, our experience with God
Yeah.
from these human relationships that have let us down.
Yeah.
And so these gut level expectations are still operating with God.
Mm. Um, and uh, and that gets in the way of our relationship with God. Yes.
Exactly.
Um,
Right. Right.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and how does it do that? And then how can we begin to develop a healthier relationship with God?
Right. Yeah. So they need to be processed. I mean, so,
Mm.
for example, if uh, people who have experienced abandonment
Hmm.
in their lives tend
Yeah.
to expect that of God in the gut level, even though, again, rationally, they
Uh,
might know, like, God's not going to abandon me. I know that from
right.
Scripture, but they still feel this at a deep gut level. And so it comes
Yeah.
out in different ways, in their spiritual life. It might be difficult to really get plugged into a church. It might be difficult to
Mm.
really trust God with a certain situation. And
Yeah.
so those experiences that are driving that, those attachment experiences need to be processed and healed and worked through,
Yeah.
with, like I've talked about, with other people and also directly with God.